and welcome to another episode of Greedy Keeps, brought to you by Moderately Anonymous MTG, the greatest cEDH channel in the multiverse. As always, this episode is brought to you by TCG Player. Hit that TCG Player affiliate link in the description to pick up any of the cards that you see in today's video. It's a great way to help out the channel. If you want to get an official Modanon playmat, make sure you pick one up through our Inked Gaming affiliate link. Want to make sure your cards stand out at the EDH table? Use our affiliate link to grab some altar sleeves and use code MODANONMTG at checkout for 5% off your order. And we're also partnered with Dragon Shield. Pick up the greatest card sleeves and TCG accessories in the multiverse and support the show. Make sure to visit our merch store to get some official Modanon merch. We've got t-shirts, sweatshirts, crew necks, and more with original Modanon designs. All of these links are in the video description below. And thank you to all of our patrons who make great content like this possible. Become a patron to enjoy Patreon exclusive content, give direct support to the channel, join our Patreon Discord, and even get your deck featured on the show. And remember, if you enjoy this video, it helps out a lot to click that like and subscribe button. It's one of the best ways to support the channel, and everyone is highly appreciated. Hello everyone, it is me, Dan, Moderately Anonymous MTG. We are here for another episode of Greedy Keeps with Alan from Mental Misplay. Welcome, Alan. I appreciate you being here, bud. Today, we are going to take a look at Dhalsim Pliable Pacifist. This is a deck that maybe you haven't heard of before, but after today, you will absolutely have this ingrained into your skull because this is the best deck in cEDH, and we're going to find out why. For anyone who doesn't know what Dhalsim does, Dhalsim Pliable Pacifist is a human monk for 2 green and a white. It is a human monk with reach and teleport, meaning Dhalsim Pliable Pacifist has hexproof unless he's attacking. Whenever a creature you control with reach attacks, untap it, and it cannot be blocked by creatures with greater power this combat. It also says whenever one or more creatures you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, and it is a 1/3. So it's sort of like a Tymna effect almost, right?
Yeah, it basically has Tymna stapled onto the bottom. I love it because it's got those universes beyond keywords of his moves. But then not only does it have those, but this, whenever a creature you control with reach attacks, untap it, and it can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. So it's got keywords that you don't understand, and then a bunch of stuff for things that there are keywords for as well. Like, it could just give them vigilance, but instead it's an attack trigger. And it could just say creatures you control, spiders you control have Skulk. But no, why would you put Skulk on a Selesnya card? So they made it confusing on purpose, which I think is part of the joy, is being able to read it and explain it.
Well, speaking of confusing on purpose, Alan, I didn't let you fully introduce yourself. Why don't you tell everyone who you are for anyone who might not have heard you before? Please tell us where people can find you on the internet.
My name is Alan. I am one half of Mental Misplay with my partner, my co-host from another coast, Cyrus, over on the West Coast there. But I stream Tuesdays and Fridays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We try to do cEDH, but we mix it up a fair amount. And we really work on destigmatizing cEDH, showing people that it's the same goofy format as the rest of Commander. We just play with like a much, much more limited card pool, right? And yeah, I'm out here to have a good time, show people, like kind of more fringe brews if we can, and play some just spicy magic.
Well, unfortunately, no fringe brews for us today because we're looking at Tier 1 Dhalsim.
Tier 0. Yeah, it's called Tier 1 Tier 1 Dhalsim, but this is Tier 0 for sure. This is S tier. Yeah, I've been trying to figure out like an official name for the list, and I have all these different lists on my Mox field, and I made the official like competitive list for Tier 1, and I was like, Tier 1 Dhalsim is the coolest name ever. So we're just gonna keep it because it was like I hadn't even realized that was like the title of the deck. I thought it was just like, this is where I played it, but that's excellent though. I love it. No, I'm just gonna keep it at Tier 1 Dhalsim, like, because this is the most powerful iteration of it, because it's made for, there are cards that are in this iteration that I would not play on a stream or like in a casual, like a friendly like pickup game or whatever. So, and thinking about it, like I recently put in Sarah's Emissary and Solitude, and I think one of the cards that I cut for it, now that I'm thinking about it, was Yasharn.
Yes, I remember you telling me that actually.
Yasharn is still on the list, and I would not run that in a spell table game. So
let's take a look at the list here for anyone who maybe isn't familiar with this list, and let's talk a little bit about what we're looking for to close the game out, what we're looking for in opening hands and things like that. So we've got a very gigantic creature package here because we're trying to push through that combat damage.
There's like 40 plus creatures, usually 42, 43 creatures or something like that, and yeah, really what I'm looking for is early small creatures, either dorks or something that's like a 2-drop with a little bit of evasion built in. My overall game plan is going to be set that up early, get out either a dork or one of those evasive creatures early, and try to land like a turn 2 through 4 Dhalsim, so that I've got creatures that don't have summoning sickness ready to start drawing cards when Dhalsim hits. Depending on the pod, I'm mulling harder for like stacks pieces or not. So like if I'm up against a really stormy deck or something I know is going to go off, or also depending on turn order, I'll mull harder for a deafening silence, or I'll mull harder for I don't know, a Dranith or a Aven Mind Sensor or whatever it happens to be, a Hushwing Griff. So I'll mull harder for those depending on turn order and who's in the pod. The 2 win cons are going to be Heliod Ballista is a combo that can happen in here, and it hits sometimes. It's kind of transparent, it takes a lot of mana, and a lot of times because I'm also like relying on card draw, I'll throw down that Walking Ballista just to have it out and be kind of threatening, and that makes it a little bit like vulnerable to removal to just have it out and about, but it also like creates different play patterns. If you have half a combo out, people act way crazier. Like, so I'm running Swift Recon, which is one of my favorite cards now that I've like run it a few times. So I've got Swift Recon and Devoted Druid in here, and that's to either feed into Ballista or into Shalai, which is I've won with that one time, just making my creatures very big with Shalai. But playing a Devoted Druid and just using it as mana makes people like, it twists everybody's interaction, what they're holding up. Like having something out that's like even moderately threatening will change the playstyle of the whole table, is what I've learned. So like putting out an early Heliod just keeps everybody freaking out the whole game. Everybody just plays totally differently. So it's something I've learned that can work to my benefit sometimes, and I've learned that it can also work to my detriment as well, because it just means everything I do is sus from that point on, right? It doesn't matter what I'm playing or what I'm drawing. Even if my plan is to just draw 3 cards a turn until I get somewhere, everybody's like, you're gonna kill us, it's too much. So the game plan overall is stick in early Dhalsim if I can, and then just outpace everybody by putting out like 1 or 2 moderate stacks pieces that are like just slow people down enough that I'm drawing more cards and playing 1 to 2 creatures a turn, amassing a bigger and bigger board state, drawing more cards. Eventually we get a Toski out there or a Mangara or something else that's drawing more cards. And there's a couple of them that are gonna like Archivist of Ogma has been putting in crazy work. So just amass cards, sculpt a really nice hand with a lot of removal so that when I do try to push, it pushes with backup. And if I'm not going for Heliod Ballista, it's land something crushing like an Elshnorn or a Kamal, and then then the pressure just ramps up.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then outside of the creature package, it looks like we have a fairly minimal just interaction package. We've got Finale of Devastation as an alternate win con that we can get through infinite mana. And then just, some various protection. We've got regular bits of artifact ramp but we've also got Chalice of the Void, which is a really sweet piece. I like that for the competition.
Yep, that was in there, specifically for the competition for sure. Oh, we've got a Rest in Peace on this list as well. That's something that is that will absolutely hose games.
Yeah. And then our land package looks like pretty typical. We've got Homeward Path, which is a nice little bit of tech that we can have to escape the Gilded Drakes of the world, etc. But other than that, looks like nothing incredibly techy. We've got an Urza Saga, and I guess that's just mostly going for ramp.
Yeah, the Urza Saga is definitely just going to be going for your Soul Ring.
I learned recently you cannot get a Chalice of the Void off of an Urza Saga activation.
Oh, interesting. That's funny because it has to be 1 or 0, not X. So, and then the other stuff I have in there is like stuff that's going to help that big push, that'll either give it protection or just like get me out of there. So like Teferi's Protection has gotten me wins, just like somebody goes for their push and makes 1 million I don't know, they twin flame or whatever it is, and I'm like, deuces. And then they pass to me, and I'm like, surprise, Elshnorn and Steamroll. And Achroma's Will has actually proved to be a little bit more versatile than I thought at first. At first, it was in there as like a cheeky, like big push, like, okay, I'm going to swing for 40 now instead of 20. But I realize now if I'm swinging with 3 creatures, it's 4 mana, draw 6 cards if they're all hitting, which is usually the case if I'm playing it. Like they all get flying and pro everything, so they're hitting.
It's a good rate.
4 mana draw 6 is not terrible, especially when I literally want to be doing that all the time.
All right, so taking a look at our first hand here, we've got a Priest of Titania, a Brushland, an Averbrook Caretaker, Gaia's Cradle, Urza Saga, Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, and an Eladamri's Call. It feels like this is probably a mull based on the fact that we have a lot of lands, but what do you think? What does this composition look like to you?
It depends on where I'm at in the turn order, and again, what the decks are. That like, if everybody else is like on 5 or 6, I'm like much more comfortable keeping this. I would almost be tempted to keep it because I can like turn 1 Urza's Saga, turn 2 I'm making a dude with the Urza's Saga, or playing Priest of Titania, and then turn 3 is Dhalsim, but I don't have any attacks yet, so it's slow. This is a slow start for sure. It feels like it would be faster because of the Priest and the Urza's Saga, but it really isn't. So I'd probably be tempted to keep this just out of greed, and then pay for it is where my head is at. But also thinking about it, like if I make a dork off the Urza's Saga on turn 2, and then on turn 3 I can play Cradle and Priest of Titania, and then turn 4 Dhalsim Sticks, and I've got 2 attacks instead.
Well, turn 2 we won't have enough mana with this hand to be able to make an Urza Saga token because we need the 2 additional.
You have to tap the thing as well. You're right. Shows what I know. So yeah, and that's exactly where I'd end up. Is I'd be like, this seems really good, and then I'd end up, I do all these cool things, and then be like, no, my brain is not like, I'm not catching up like that. So
given that, what are we thinking? Is this a ship?
That's probably a ship. Yeah, I want it to be a little bit faster, but there'll be a lot of ships.
All right, let's take a look at our second 7 here then. Second 7 is Deadly Recluse, cEDH All-Star, Forest, Swords to Plowshares, Stonecoil Serpent, Shalai, Voice of Plenty, Endurance, and an Enlightened Tutor. Oh, man, if we had like a Savannah instead of that Forest, I would feel very inclined to keep this hand. Yes,
very much so. This is a ship, just because it's, yeah, even if it was a white mana instead of that, I'd almost be tempted to keep it.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's very, very close with that Enlightened Tutor, but not quite there. All right, so let's take a look at our 6 here. 6 is Survival of the Fittest, Kamal, Mother of Runes, Leonin Arbiter, Walking Ballista, Hushbringer, and Hushwing Gryff. So I'm gonna guess
non-viable. This is a non-starter here.
We are going to 5. Our 5 is Devoted Druid, Yasharn, Atrasta, Teferi's Protection, Hushwing Gryff, Soul Ring, and Hushbringer. I'm sorry I'm doing the dramatically long read. I'm actually not looking at the entire thing. I'm reading them one by one.
No, it's fine. I'm just looking at them and going, oh, we should have kept every time we should have kept every one of these has been that first 7 starting to look real good.
All right, let's take a look at 4 here.
4, this is the magic number, right?
4 is Destiny Spinner, Command Tower, Urza Saga, Enlightened Tutor, Sanctum Prelate, Soul Ring, and Craterhoof Behemoth. Now, often as I am when you go to 4 in Grixis, I think we're rewarded for going to 4 here. This seems like a fantastic 4.
Yeah, this is, I mean, Command Tower, Soul Ring, Enlightened Tutor are easy off of that, and then Destiny Spinner is a 2/3 for 2, which is pretty good, so I'm almost tempted to take that instead of the Urza's Saga, just to have a body out there and hope for some lands. But you can like tutor for something, for more, like I can tutor for the Mana Crypt at that point with the Enlightened Tutor, which feels great. But it is color screwed, so like we don't have Dhalsim mana regardless of what we're doing. So it's a tough call what the 4th keep is. So I'd sit here and think about this for a while, but it is the keep. So it's Soul Ring, Command Tower, Enlightened Tutor. The Urza Saga makes the Enlightened Tutor like kind of a toss-up, because you can Urza Saga and then eventually get your color fixing in there.
Yeah.
With like a Mox whatever, just like and then you have to discard something, which is a little tough. So it does make it feel a little bit worse.
It's a sort of enticing keep, though, in that we do get presumably more attackers out of this Urza Saga than we do having just purely the Destiny Spinner, and also they're going to be bigger, and we're also going to get just a little bit more ramp out of it.
Yeah, that's not untrue for sure. So like Command Tower, Urza Saga, Enlightened Tutor, and Soul Ring makes two creatures that are going to be 4/4s. It's two big boys.
Yeah.
So that's definitely tempting. It's just, you just got to pray for that second mana to come up eventually. But
yeah, I mean, Urza Saga does get us a Jeweled Lotus eventually, but it is going to be on turn 3, which I don't know. I guess it isn't the worst.
I guess, yeah, Jeweled Lotus is a way to do it, and that'll spit out Dhalsim real quick for sure, and leave you with. Can you activate it? Yeah, if you get a Jeweled Lotus, you can.
Yeah, because we'll already have Soul Ring on board, so
you can make a second dude and get Dhalsim out there, which is pretty decent, and that's on turn 3. And then you draw with one of the creatures that you get. So yeah, that's
a good 4. I like that 4.
Reasons,
all right, let's take a look at our next one then. So first 7 here is Yasharn, Savannah, Rest in Peace, Sanctum Prelate, Plains, Kamal, and Elishnorn. Very top end heavy, but depending on pod, that Rest in Peace might look very appealing.
Yeah, the Rest in Peace looks really good. I'm probably not keeping this hand just because
without the ramp.
A 7-drop and an 8-drop.
Yeah.
So, and like, yeah, start off with the Rest in Peace, and then it's just get punched, and let people kind of do what they want with impunity until.
Are you doing a lot with your life total in this deck? Is it okay to get punched for a while? Can you like eat those beats?
Yeah, for sure. What I oftentimes find is because I'm playing things like Dhalsim and just creatures that people don't want to attack into, my life total is usually the highest out of anybody's for a long time.
Makes sense.
It just stays at like in the 30s for quite some time, unless I have one of these slow starts that is like just sitting there with like a hate piece out, and then I'm getting.
Leaves you open to attempt attackers.
It also leaves me open to like make sure he's not on Serra Ascendant.
No, that makes sense too. Yeah,
I think Serra Ascendant's also not on this list because I couldn't get one at tier 1, but that's usually in here. And I've got one now. It's in the list now. So,
all right, well, let's take a look at our second 7 here. Second 7 is Ballista, Heliod. Spoiler alert, it's a no-lander. Elishnorn, Esper Sentinel, Archon of Amiri, Cathar Commando, Yasharn, the Implacable Earth. So yeah, that's not going to do it for us, although we do have our 2-card combo, which is nice.
Nice,
but...
feels good. You only need 9 mana to do it in one turn. So. Only 9 land draws away. We're good.
Hey, you know what? We're on our way to the perfect 4th again, though. Sorry, let's go to our 6 here. 6 is Deafening Silence, Mangara, the Diplomat, Swift Reconfiguration, Windswept Teeth, Heroic Intervention, Rest in Peace, and a Chalice of the Void. So we've got some turn 1 options, which is pretty nice with this hand. We don't have a lot of hope. We don't have any specific plans for ramping or anything, though. Like, that is, how does this feel to you?
It feels like if I'm on first, like, sure, I'll keep this, right? Like, if I'm on first, it's Windswept, Chalice on 0, and Deafening Silence, and everybody's furious.
Yeah, you're gonna really cut the legs out. Like, if you're in first position, you're cutting the legs out from everyone else behind you. And I guess let's take a look at the next couple draws to see Deadly Recluse. We got the Horizon Canopy, so
there you go.
On turn 2 we can cast our Deadly Recluse. So we're good. We got there.
That's great. And then because with Deadly Recluse, you're not getting attacked. No one's coming after you.
No chrome attackers for sure.
No one's swinging at you, for sure not for like mad turns until they've got multiple attackers.
Reach and Death Touch on that guy for anyone who hasn't played Limited in a while.
It's so stupid. I love that card so much because it's just like it's a big meme. It gets a laugh, and it's Rebel referred to it as the Dhalsim's loyal apprentice. It's a loyal apprentice.
It's perfect. Yeah, I like that. So, if we weren't in first position, would you keep this hand? Would you risk it on it, or would this be a ship?
That would probably be a ship, honestly.
All right, so let's take a look at what I think this was our 6.
That was the 6.
All right, so let's go to 5 here. 5 is Bountiful Promenade, Elder Gargaroth, Heliod the Suncrown, Leonin Arbiter, Ranger Captain Avios, Averbrecht Caretaker, and the Deafening Silence.
That's like I'm not happy with that as a 5. If I'm drawing a land, I've got a creature to play, which feels good on turn 2. Like, even on turn, Leonin Arbiter is always going to fuck games up.
Yeah, Leonin's a good choice.
People hate that guy. And like
it's really backbreaking in the early game to turn a demonic tutor into a diabolic tutor or whatever.
Or fetches too. People are just like, fuck. This is just like a get sad hand at this point. We'll shoot for that. We'll shoot for that good 4.
Yeah, it's called Greedy Keeps, not Risky Keeps. So let's go for 4. What do we got here? Elvish Mystic, Homeward Path, Veil of Summer, Findhorn Elves, Archon of Emiria, Stonecoil Serpent, and a Flumph. Yeah, betrayed by the Homeward Path. If this was a forest, we would be golden here, or a savannah, I guess.
Yeah. Hot money. I'm keeping this for sure though. Like, this is just, we're dropping this and praying at this point. For 4, we're doing Homeward Path, a Findhorn Elves, a Stonecoil Serpent, and the Flumph, and praying for a green mana to come up.
All right, let's draw 1. It is Teferi's Protection. Draw 2 is Bountiful Promenade, so you're not too far away from it. It puts you pretty behind. Let's say because we're on the show and there's no actual like downfall to doing this. Let's see what the mold of 3 looks like. Yasharn, Forest, Archon, Iganjo, Crater Hoof Behemoth, Veil of Summer, and a Windswept Heath. So do we just keep 3 lands and
basically, or like, yeah, 3? That's keep 3 for sure. If it was that. I like the other one because also Stonecoil on 1 is
also a great Crom blocker. Great Tenda blocker too, actually.
Yeah, Stonecoil on 1 is great. It's blocking whatever you're throwing out there, just about. No, this is bad. This is keep 3 lands for sure.
All right, well, let's take a look at our Fresh 7 here. Fresh 7 is Teferi's Protection, Elish Norn, Eladamri's Call, Craterhoof Behemoth, Noxious Revival, Findhorn Elves, and Archon of Valor's Reach.
Doesn't give a shit today. It's just, I mean, I think I just...
You have 29 lands in the list, too. It's not like you're skimping on them either. These are just like some really unfortunate draws that we're getting.
It makes me want to go up to like 32 lands. Because, well, the other thing is, like, the deck isn't running a lot of ramp otherwise. Like, it's got dorks. It's got like 4 or 5 dorks.
Yeah, it's either like dorks or like Mana Crypt, right?
Yeah, I've got like 4 or 5 mana rocks, right? So it's like, it's not in that sweet, like, 12 pieces of ramp space that you want to be for like a 28 land space. But yeah.
All right, well, let's take a look at our second 7 is Silence, Audric Lunarch Marshal, Branch Loft Pathway, Llanowar Elves, Sanctum Prelate, Flooded Strand, and a Command Tower. This seems like a really solid, this is our second 7?
Yeah, this is a turn 2, yeah, so turn 1, Elf, turn 2, Sanctum Prelate on probably 2, and then Dhalsim comes out turn 3, and I'm drawing cards. I'm drawing at least 1 card. And then eventually, once Audric hits, then everybody's drawing cards.
I was going to say, yeah, if we land the Audric turn after Dhalsim, then things are going to start to get really hairy on that board.
Yeah, and I mean, depending on where the board state is, if everyone's got blockers, I'm dropping Audric first. And then Dhalsim comes down second, because then it gives everyone reach, so I'm getting under regardless. But if there's somebody open, it's probably Dhalsim first and then Audric.
That makes sense. Well, nice. This is a very solid one. All right, let's take a look at our next one. Fresh 7 is... I'm sorry.
I was going to say the Silence is always so difficult because, like, people can go off on turn 2 or 3, but I'll play greedy. I'll play turn 1 a 1-drop, turn 2 I'll play that Sanctum Prelate and we'll pass it, and somebody's winning. Somebody Adnos is on turn 2 and I've got my Silence in hand and I'm tapped out. Like, like that happens all the time. It's so tough when to know to keep that 1 mana up for the Silence.
I agree, because, like, yeah, the Sanctum Prelate getting things on board and, like, advancing your material board state is very important for that early game, and holding up a Silence, and, like, if that's all you can do is hold up the Silence, like, it's a pretty unenticing play if no one does play an Adnos and you've just spent your whole turn doing nothing, time walking yourself, so and I can understand.
Sanctum Prelate on 2 does shut down a lot of the things that I'm trying to silence, right? Like,
yeah.
So.
All right, well, Fresh 7 here is Mangar the Diplomat, Talisman of Unity, Yavi Maya Hollow, Leonin Arbiter, Noxious Revival, Ranger Captain of Eos, and a Command Tower. How does this one feel?
It feels good. I usually want something that'll at least get me to 4 mana, but we've got lands. Turn 2, we're dropping the Talisman. Turn 3 is probably the Leonin Arbiter, or maybe the Ranger Captain if I want to go get it's 1 or less.
Yeah.
Ranger Captain maybe gets the Esper Sentinel, and that's drawing me into some more cards. So it's like, yeah, it's decent. It's slow, but it's doable.
Yeah, it gives us some options with early game stack stasis between Leonin or Ranger Captain to be able to apply some pressure to the faster decks at the table, and then we've got Mangar to draw some more cards, which is nice if we can slow people down enough.
And if I'm getting out Esper Sentinel and Mangara, like, the cards will fill, my hand will fill right up real quick. You know, I'll be on 7-8 cards a turn. It's easy.
Not to mention that Noxious Revival is also a sneaky protection spell. I've used it many more times, I think, to thwart an opponent from winning than I have to actually, like, set up a redraw for myself.
Yep. Yeah, I'll do that. And, like, yeah, that'll, you know, the Noxious Revival gets back the Esper Sentinel if it gets blown up, or...
Like top deck tutor, or you can also, like, if someone's trying to reanimate a Dockside or something like that, remove it from their ability to do that. There's a lot of really great flexibility in that spell. So,
yeah.
All right.
It's so good. Like, I've been running that as like a catch-all for a long time, and it's just, I'm so glad to see just everybody's on it. You know, everybody's running this, like, nice little free spell that has versatility in 2 amazing directions.
Even when you're playing 4-color piles, like, it's one of the premier reasons to be running green, like between that, Veil of Summer, and it's like Sylvan Library type effects. All right, let's take a look at a Fresh 7 here. Fresh 7 is Findhorn Elves, Stonecoil Serpent, Hushbringer, Priest of Titania, Soul Ring, Occam Adversary, and a Mox Diamond. So yeah, a land away.
God, 1 land, and this is fire.
Yeah, land away from glory. Do you risk it?
No, I don't usually do that. I won't sit there and just be like, no lands. Like, that's, I'm not usually the type to risk it, but this is tempting.
It's very stacked. Yeah, I know. Because it's my show and it's greedy keeps. Let's take a draw and see what it is. It is Boseiju.
So we're on pitching Boseiju to Mox Diamond is so insulting.
Hey, puts it there if you got the life from the loam, which you don't, but they don't know that.
Then we're going Mox Diamond, Soul Ring, Stone Coil on 2, turn 1. Feels great.
Yeah, and then you get to follow that up with the Priest of Titania and then Findhorn Elves the turn after to give it that little bit of extra oomph. Like, I agree with you. Like, if I was playing a game for an audience of people, I would not keep this hand for the huge fact that you'll get blown out most times. But yeah.
Sit there and be like, wah for mad long.
All right, let's take a look at our 6 here, since we cannot actually keep this one. 6 is Silence, Archon of Emeria, Swift Reconfiguration, Destiny Spinner, Urza Saga, Noxious Revival, and Yavi Maya Hollow. So getting bit a little bit by those colorless mana sources doesn't seem like a keep.
Nah, I'm pitching this one.
All right, 5 is Archon of Emeria, Branchloft Pathway, Priest of Titania, Sanctum Prelate, Gemstone Caverns, Destiny Spinner, and Eladamri's Call. So we're at 5 at this point, so exiling that Gemstone is a big commitment, but
yeah, it is.
Having a turn 1 Priest of Titania doesn't seem terrible.
Really, I mean, and then we're on turn 2 Archon, and that feels great.
Yeah.
So it's, what is it? Gemstone and X, and then land Priest Archon, and pitching X to Gemstone, and yeah, turn 2 Pathway, probably on white at that point, and then turn 3 Archon, unless I'm drawing a land. If I'm drawing a land on turn 3, then it's okay, that's kind of hot, actually. So
no lands, but yeah, another ramp source is nice. So say this was does this feel like a keep? Would you keep this?
Yeah, that would on 5, that would have been a keep for sure.
What do we put to the bottom here? Is there any sort of Between Eladamri's Call, Destiny Spinner, and Sanctum Prelate, is there anything that we would much rather have inside of the deck and not exile to Gemstone Caverns? I feel like Sanctum Prelate is probably the one that I would, or maybe Eladamri's Call is probably one of the ones that I would not want to exile.
I'm probably exiling the Sanctum Prelate.
Yeah.
And because Destiny Spinner, it protects everything I'm trying to do. And Eldamri's Call is like, it's nice to come up with a tutor to hand eventually, because that's just any other card. I'm more inclined to I'm less inclined to play Sanctum Prelate just because I've got such terrible judgment for what like I get so balled up about what number to pick when I'm playing it. Like I'll sit there and debate for so long, but usually the answer should almost always be 2, unless somebody's on something that's like unless it's like really early and then it's 1, or unless there's 2 players on Jessica.
We were talking about it earlier. You were talking about the perfect number to name, and I was like, well, I'll certainly never forget you saying 3 to black out 2 Jessica decks at the table.
So brutal.
Well, nice. This was a pretty solid keep, honestly. I think this is one of my favorite ones that we had so far. Just like turn 1 Priest into turn 2 Archon of Emiria seems like pretty hot. All right, so let's take a look at Fresh 7 here. Is Vanguard the Diplomat, Suppression Field, which is a favorite of mine that you put in this tier 1 list. The Pathway again, Survival of the Fittest, Aven Mind Sensor, Ranger Captain, and Heliod.
This is no good. I'm chipping this for sure on 1 mana.
All right, second 7 is Aven Mind Sensor, Mana Confluence, Hushwing Griff, Ranger's Guile, Arcane Signet, Path to Exile, and the Pathway again.
Sure, I'll keep that. Hushwing being on 2 is a pain in my ass, but yeah, that's a keep. We've got the Arcane Signet, so turn 3 we're playing stuff. It feels slow. I really wish I had a dork in this hand, but it's good.
Yeah, having like a forward momentum game plan rather than like Path to Exile to hold up defensively on turn 1 would feel better, but it definitely, it's putting you in good places between Hushwing Griff and the Aven Mind Sensor for good options of where you want to be on turn 3, trying to stop people from going for it.
Yep, I think in the newer iteration, Ranger's Guile is one of the ones I took out as well. Like that, I put in there to just have extra protection in a meta where people were going to be like way more aggressive about blowing stuff up, but people were it was weird. People weren't as aggressive about blowing stuff up as I thought they were going to be, but it's because like most of the creatures I had, they were like whatever, until it was a creature that like clearly indicated me winning. So it was fun to see. But yeah, Ranger's Guile was just kind of like a quick flex spot just to have a 1 mana protection in there.
All right, so yeah, nice. That's a solid keep then. Let's take a look at one more hand. Go for one more keep.
Come on.
First 7 is Draenith Magistrate, Silence, Yavimaya Hollow, Leonin Arbiter, Path to Exile, Flump, and the Hushbringer. So not quite getting there again on this one.
That's Plains. I'll take a Plains instead of Path or Silence, and then it feels decent. It's so fun because like I've gotten these explosive hands so many times, and this is almost viable. This is second 7 here.
Yeah, second 7 here is Chalice of the Void, Yavimaya Hollow, Boseiju Who Endures, Noxious Revival, Stonecoil Serpent, Archon of Emiria, and Cathar Commando.
I'll take 6 instead of this for sure.
Yeah, the Boseiju not tapping for a second color is not great. But here, this looks like a solid 6. We've got Sanctum Prelate, Priest of Titania, Atrasta, the Endless Web, Toski, Bearer of Secrets, Ancient Tomb, Forest, and the Savannah.
This is pitch the Sanctum Prelate, and we're on memes all day. Like,
yeah, pitch the only uncastable card, and we've got some great options left over.
It's great. It's slow still, it's turn 2 Priest, turn 3. I don't even know what the turn 3 is. If it's Dhalsim, any one of them is fun, Arasta is keeping me from getting punched and building the board out more. Toski's making everybody lose their minds, and it's a great blocker. And Dhalsim just forwards the game plan as well. Honestly, with this hand, Dhalsim's not coming out till turn 5 or 6 because I'm playing Arasta or Toski before either of those. And it'd probably be Arasta first.
Yeah, that makes sense to me because we're going into turn 3, so we're hoping for if not someone doing something pretty explosive, then at least a counter to be exchanged.
Yeah, some sort of or brainstorm, anything. Tutor. like anything at all, and that's giving me multiple bodies for Toski at that point. And then it was turn 3 Priest, right? No, turn 2 Priest, turn 3 Arasta, turn 4 Toski, and I'm drawing a couple, like maybe a couple cards if if somebody's on no blocks at that point. I'm like, yeah, I'll draw 4 cards.
I mean, if you've got Arasta out, we're definitely going to get in at least one, because who can afford to block a 3/5? Prom players, but
yeah.
Well, nice. This is a super solid one. I think next to actually, I think I might even like this one better than our turn 2 Archon of Emiria on the Multi-5. This it really sets us up for drawing some big cards and definitely having a lot of advantage on board.
Big draws and make everybody crazy. Let's see what the other 2 cards, 3 cards in where I'm at. I want to see.
First draw is Yavimaya. Second is Elder Gargaroth.
Oh, yeah, we're good. We're off. This is great.
Very big boy. Oh, and then the Deadly Reckless. Yeah, couldn't have done any better.
Party for sure. Elder Gargaroth was such a blast.
That is an extreme powerhouse of a card. Not a card that I've seen in any other cEDH list. If they put this on the cEDH guide, this will certainly have maybe even more unique cards than Angie in it. Yeah,
Elder Gargaroth is just so good. It's just look
at all those words it says. It's got 3 different lines of text that you get to choose.
It's always blocking. It's attack. It's always doing damage because it's got trample. Mm-hmm. And drawing 4 cards instead of 3 on attack with Dhalsim is hysterical. And if I'm already super flush on cards, then making bodies is everything.
Yeah.
Making those 3/3s, and especially with Toski, making those 3/3s feels even better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, putting more bodies on board seems to always be a good option for this deck, because going wide is very well benefited from the structure of the deck and what we're doing here.
But it's cards like Elder Gargaroth that are the reason Homeward Path is in there.
Oh my gosh, I totally understand that. Yeah, if someone steals your Gargaroth or steals your Elishnorn or something like that, yeah, that's really bad news. I can understand that.
Elishnorn, it's almost over at that point anyway. I'm like, oh cool, well, now I got no creatures and can't draw cards because now fucking Dhalsim's 0-1.
Well, nice. Alan, thank you so much for coming and doing an episode of Greedy Keeps with me. This was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed getting to take a look at this deck with you. I know that people have been really enjoying Dhalsim, so I'm excited to put this out and let some people see some more Dhalsim content. If people want to see more Alan content, where can they find you?
You can find me on basically anywhere you can type Mental Misplay. You can go down, write it in the sand at the beach, and I'll pop out of the waves, ready to party. But really, twitch.tv/mental_misplay on Tuesdays and Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, or Saturdays at 9 p.m. Pacific. My co-host from another coast, Cyrus, runs the ASMR of cEDH, Chilaxamundar, the most relaxed cEDH pods you could imagine. We absolutely love putting those on because it's just it's your perfect nightcap of cEDH content. Otherwise, you can catch me on YouTube. We put out videos every once in a while, a lot of shorts as well. I'm on Twitter, chopping it up a little bit. I kind of back away a little, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, that's where you can find me, and you can find me doing cEDH and also out and about at events, hopefully over the next few months. You can catch me in person, see me in the wild, in my element, and maybe I'll run up on you with a microphone.
Nice. Anything else you want to leave us with before we get out of here?
Thank you for having me on, for chopping it up a little bit. Thank you for showcasing this deck. I gotta brew something new is really what it is. I've been one track in this for too long. And congratulations on an awesome new program schedule and a new content, because this is Braden was dead right. Your mulligans and the way you look at keeping an opening hand is really, really cool. You're really good at it. You're really good at that sort of analysis. And so it's really good to see, even with this, a deck that, supposedly nobody but me is familiar with, you're able to see the lines immediately, where you want to go with it, what you want to do. And, I like this deck because it's the stacks pieces are they're there, they're nice, but my plan is really just kind of accrue value and get people to laugh. If I'm drawing cards and landing an Elder Gargaroth, great, I'm having a good time.
Well, I think we both laughed enough today looking at these greedy keeps to call this an absolute victory for this deck. So thank you so much, Alan. I really appreciate you coming and hanging out with us. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll be back with another episode of Greedy Keep soon.
My pleasure.
Remember, if you enjoyed this video, one of the best ways to support us is by leaving a comment and hitting that like and subscribe button. It's incredibly helpful and always appreciated. If you want to support the channel more directly, join our Patreon to catch episodes early, join our private Discord, and get some other awesome benefits. One final thank you to all of our patrons who make great content like this possible. And thank you for watching. Be good to yourself, everyone.